Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Discussions. On today's episode, man, do we have a bit to talk about now? I am going to say this now before we start. I'm not going to be talking about Rampage tonight. I'm not going to give predictions on Rampage. I will try and give results tomorrow. The reason I'm not giving predictions and stuff like that is due to the simple fact that I can't find the match card for tonight, unfortunately. I'll try to get the results tomorrow for you guys. As tonight's Friday Night Smackdown, which, if you're like me, you can't wait for Friday Night Smackdown due to the Sami Zayn Bloodline stuff going on. In fact, Sami Zayn even posted on Twitter a picture of his garbage can surrounded by all his photos of him in the Bloodline, which goes to show that Sami Zayn is done with the Bloodline, which is surprising. It's surprising. I thought for sure Sami would try and fight for it, maybe add a little bit more to it, but no, it looks like Sami Zayn's done with the Bloodline, and I'm really hoping Sami Zayn's on TV tonight. I'm really hoping the Bloodline's on TV tonight. It's so intense that WWE even posted a whole hour-long video of the entire playlist of everything that Sami Zayn and the Bloodline have been through. And if that's not intense, if that's not like long-term storytelling at its finest, then I don't know what is. This has been going on since the beginning of 2020, since not the beginning of 2022, but this has been going on since May of 2022. That's how long that they've been working on this. That's how long Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn and the Bloodline has been developed into a storyline, and we are now here. Like, no one understands how huge that is. Now, kind of diving away from that, I'll get back to it later on, but kind of diving away from that for now and going back into Impact Wrestling, we saw Jonathan Gresham take on Aiden Prince last night. Now, I didn't know this match was going to happen, so I didn't predict anything for this. However, Jonathan Gresham did get the win over Aiden Prince, which is good. I think Jonathan Gresham deserves a little bit more. He deserves a little bit more in terms of impact since he's a new signee. All of that I think is going to be impressive for him moving on. On top of that, he calls out Mike Bailey for No Surrender, which is coming up this month, which is huge. Mike Bailey's been on fire here lately ever since his major title match with Josh Alexander, and so I'm really excited to see Speedball Mike Bailey potentially take on Jonathan Gresham. I think both wrestlers have great potential to maybe take on Josh Alexander at some point and go for the world title at some point, go for the X Division title. Both wrestlers have great potential to just really make a name out of their careers in these next following years. Now, we also saw the Bullet Club, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, take on Kevin Knight and Kushida. Now, my prediction for this was the Bullet Club, due to the simple fact that they are red hot. They are, they've been winning week after week. I definitely think they're contenders to get a tag title match again against the Motor City Machine Guns. And I was correct. The Bullet Club did get the victory, so major congratulations to them on that. We also saw Giselle Shaw take on Savannah Evans. Now, my prediction for this was Giselle Shaw. I don't know either wrestler incredibly well, but based off of what we've been seeing the past couple of weeks, I went with Giselle Shaw on this one, and my prediction was correct. Giselle Shaw did get the victory over Savannah Evans, so congratulations to her on that. We also saw Crazy Steve versus Sheldon Jean, and another correct prediction on this point. Crazy Steve getting the victory over Sheldon Jean, which I think is important. I think Crazy Steve is going to go after Trey Miguel. I think he's going to go after the X Division Championship. And I think Crazy Steve could potentially be the new X Division Champion. I don't think Crazy Steve has ever held the X Division Championship. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I do know him and Abyss were once tag champions, but I'm not fully aware if he's ever been X Division champion. If he has, well, then I'm sorry for saying he hasn't been, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't. And so I would love to see him fight Trey Miguel and get a very impressive match over Trey Miguel, and very impressive victory over Trey Miguel, and get the X Division title off of that. Now, we also saw Johnny Swinger take on Kenny King. Now, I didn't know this match was going to happen, so I don't have a prediction on it, but Kenny Kane did get the victory over Johnny Swinger. I gotta say, I'm happy with that, because there was a lot of talk of Kenny Kane potentially leaving Impact Wrestling. There was you know what I mean? On top of that, oh, sorry about that, my mic, if anything cut out for a minute there, I hit my mic by accident. Kenny Kane, I think he deserves a bit more, matches, a bit more appreciation than what he was getting in Impact Wrestling, and so I'm glad he's finally getting some wins under his belt. That's very important for Kenny Kane, as well as Impact Wrestling in general, in my opinion. Now, I believe this was our main event. We saw the Impact World Champion Josh Alexander team up with Rich Swann, Frankie Kazarian, and Yuya Uemura to take on the Design and Callahan. Now, I talked about this a little bit last night. The Design and Callahan, not really working together, in the sense that they're still not going by the Design, they're going by separate names. Now, my prediction for this was, I believe, if I remember correctly, I believe it was Josh Alexander, Rich Swann, Frankie Kazarian, and Yuya Uemura. Turns out I was wrong. The winners of this match were the Design and Callahan. Now, that's impressive. Callahan, potentially proving himself to the Design, which is important. And on top of that, this loss could potentially add to the rivalry that we could potentially see between Rich Swann and Josh Alexander going into their match at No Surrender for the Impact World Championship, which I've commented on before and have said, I think that match is great. I think that match is very, I think Rich Swann very much so deserves that match, because that match is his everything. But yeah, it looks like last night went very well. We saw a little bit of Bully Ray. Bully Ray, Masha Slamovic seem to be... I don't know. Bully Ray seems to be against Mickey James right now. I will say I like the fact that Bully Ray is still in the Impact Zone. I like that Bully Ray did not lose to Josh Alexander and then just left. I like that he's still there. I like that he's going to, maybe potentially move on and take on other competitors down the line. We also got confirmation that there will be four matches to decide a number one contender. We're gonna get four. It's gonna be like a mini tournament, I guess. It's gonna have Steve Maclin in it, Brian Myers, Dirty Dango, and a couple other wrestlers that I can't fully remember. But speaking of Dirty Dango real quick, I do want to talk about that. Dirty Dango is officially signed with Impact Wrestling. He showed up in the Impact Zone quite a little bit ago, but he has officially signed a contract. He's no longer a free agent. He's officially part of the Impact Zone, part of Impact Wrestling, which is interesting to me, because Dirty Dango, obviously, I know him as Fandango on SmackDown and Monday Night Raw, but he's officially in Impact Wrestling as Dirty Dango. And now that he's officially signed, maybe he'll start getting some wins under his belt. Maybe he'll start moving up the totem pole a little bit more. I'd be down for all of it. Now, there was some talk going into this number one contenders tournament thing that they have going on, that Steve Maclin would win. And I don't doubt that, in the sense that Steve Maclin is in such a great position right now. He beat Rich Swann at Hard to Kill. He's been kind of unstoppable as of late, and he really does deserve a title shot. All that being said, I'm not sure if he'd win the belt, but he definitely deserves a title shot eventually, whether it be against Rich Swann or Josh Alexander. All depends who wins at No Surrender. And don't worry, I will give predictions on No Surrender as we get closer to that point. But let's move on to Friday Night Smackdown, shall we? So, starting with the women's division, obviously we're probably going to hear from Charlotte Flair, especially since Rhea Ripley chose Charlotte Flair. We could potentially see Rhea Ripley show up on SmackDown. Maybe not this week, but I'm sure later down the line she'll start making appearances. I'm sure we'll also hear from Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, who are both going to be in the Raw Women's Championship Elimination Chamber match to decide who will fight Bianca Belair for the championship at WrestleMania. Now, there's a number of different prospects in that match. There's Liv Morgan, there's Raquel Rodriguez, there's Asuka. But going into SmackDown itself, you have Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez that are, representing SmackDown. Personally, I like the idea that they're incorporating some SmackDown wrestlers into it, in the sense that if one of them were to win, then that would be a way for them to kind of go to Raw, as well as with the draft and such. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Forgot to silence my cell phone. But yeah, with things such as the women's division and the Raw Women's Championship Elimination Chamber match, I think it's very impressive and very vital to include some of the women from SmackDown as well, because they all have different talents. They all range in different wrestling styles, and so I think they would complement each other very well. I think I'd love to see Liv Morgan get involved and maybe have some creative wrestling, like a creative wrestling capability with that of Asuka. I'd love to see Raquel Rodriguez kind of get in there with Asuka. I think there's a number of different opportunities for all these women, for all these wrestlers, and I'd love to see them all kind of get involved and, make their way in. We did hear from Carmella and even Candice LeRae. Both women want to get in this match. Both women want to get into the Elimination Chamber. I don't blame them. I think this is a very important match. I think it's a very dangerous match. And I'm all for it. On top of that, I gotta be honest, I'd kind of like to see Dakota Kai in this match. For those of you that don't know, I'm a major Dakota Kai fan, and her at War Games was so impressive, and she's very impressive in cage matches. I think everyone can say, just based off her War Games matches, her in a cage is just kind of people. I think she's very well done in that. It's an appealing thing to see her get into a cage match in any way, shape, or form. And so her in the chamber, I think, would be very entertaining, especially since she's what I consider a very good seller. And so I'd love to see her sell some really good moves in the chamber, as well as just kind of go to war with some people in the chamber, which I think would be impressive. I also think we're going to be seeing Tegan Nox in the match, which is confirmed, I'm pretty sure. I'm really down for that. Tegan Nox was incredibly impressive at the Royal Rumble. Incredibly dominant. I loved seeing Tegan in that match, and I would love to see her. I would love to see her win the chamber. I think we need to see some new stars kind of get in the title pictures. I think Tegan Nox is certainly one that I love to see get in there and get involved, and so without a doubt, would love to see that. Now, moving on to the Intercontinental Championship for a little bit with Gunther. Haven't really heard anything with that yet. Gunther did an impressive job at the Royal Rumble, lasting the longest. Unfortunately got eliminated in the end by Cody Rhodes, but he did such an incredible match, such an incredible, wherewithal for the man. And I can only assume that tonight Imperium is going to take on Braun Strowman and Ricochet. I can only assume. The winner's obviously taking on the Usos, and again, this kind of brings into question, are the Usos okay? Is the Bloodline okay? And I'm sure all of that will be brought up tonight. My hope is that Sami Zayn will be there tonight. My even bigger hope is that Kevin Owens will be there tonight alongside Sami Zayn. But all that being said, I just want a really big night. I just want to see the Bloodline there. I want to see Sami there. I want to see the Royal Rumble be talked about. I want to see Pat McAfee on SmackDown. I'd love to see Pat McAfee be back. Obviously, yes, we have Wade Barrett, but I would love to see Wade Barrett, Pat McAfee, and Michael Cole. I'm not completely certain if Pat McAfee was just the Royal Rumble thing or if he's officially back. I'm hoping he's officially back. Freaking love him on commentary. He's like... I love him on commentary. He is, to me, what Mauro Ranallo was for NXT. He was just so good, and I want to see, speaking of which, while I'm on the topic, I want to see Mauro Ranallo make a comeback. I want to see Mauro Ranallo come back to WWE, because he was such a good commentator, had a great energy. I loved him so freaking much in NXT. You know, Mamma Mia this, Mamma Mia that. Oh my God, Cena, Mamma Mia. You know, like him and anything he did, any commentary he did was so impressive. Same with Pat McAfee. It really entertains you. It really gets you excited for the show. And so, all in all, I'm really excited for tonight's Friday Night Smackdown, if you couldn't tell. And in terms of predictions, if we do see Imperium take on Braun Strowman and Ricochet tonight, I'm going to straight up right now, I'm going to predict that we are going to see Braun Strowman and Ricochet win. However, that being said, personally, I would like to see Imperium win. I want to see more out of Imperium. I want to see Imperium get a title match that I think they very much so deserve. And I'd also like to see this idea of Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and the Viking Raiders. I want to see that evolve a little bit more because, like I said, I think the Viking Raiders have such a great story ahead of them. I think they really can be future champs if they do things right with them. And so I really want to see that evolve and adapt and expand as we watch it as we watch this unfold in the future. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to close out tonight's episode. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.